Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel, and also welcome back to day whatever of Vlogmas. I have no idea why I'm keeping up the charade that I'm actually participating in Vlogmas this year, because I'm clearly not. Not in any meaningful capacity at least, because my first Christmas is definitely not holly jolly. It is a festive failure, that's for sure. But I have a good reason. I have a good-ish reason. I broke 3 of my toes last night. Some guy came into the clinic absolutely jacked up and only God knows what, and he was ranting about alien conspiracies, and of course Nate decided, being Nate, that the way to respond to this when this guy is clearly in a paranoid state is to start humming the X-Files theme song, which spooked the poor guy enough that he leapt off the bed. He was on the hospital bed, he leapt off it, and he started shoving it against the door, and I was in between the bed and the door. And so now I am the proud owner of 3 busted toes, one of which I had to relocate myself. It was absolutely gnarly. And I certainly have a newfound appreciation for my mother, who insisted that everybody at her clinic wear steel-capped boots, because she was an ocean of wisdom, my mother, and I would very much like to steal that policy and implement it at my own hospital, but I'm not going to, because it would just be a complete and total waste of time. Because during the summer, Nate likes to wear flip-flops, and during winter, he insists on wearing Ugg boots everywhere he goes, no matter what the circumstances is. Is there a lake full of vomit? Possibly on the floor, but he doesn't care. He's wearing Ugg boots regardless. So I know for a fact that if I tried to implement a toe safety seminar, he would just insist on showing up barefoot to work for the next month and a half just to spite me. Because, you know when you watch Harry Potter and it's like, oh, he's the curse breaker? Nate is not the curse breaker. Nate is the rule breaker. He is defiant to a fault. He's oppositionally defiant. He will do something just because you tell him not to. He will poke a bear just because you tell him not to. So it'd be a complete and total waste of my time and energy to try to implement that. So the best we can do is just pray to whatever God you believe in that nobody around here loses any toes anytime soon. Because it won't be Nate. It never happens to the defiant people. It always happens to the me people. Okay? I'm the one who breaks my toes. I'm the one who's going to lose them. It's just the way that things roll. This is technically the second video that I filmed today. The first video was a 28-minute long rant about the diaspora and chicken nuggets. And I personally think it's a very, very good video. It's very enlightening and very confronting in a lot of ways, but very educational all the same. And I had finished it. I had converted all the videos. I was sitting down to edit when I get a phone call from A, of all people, and he's like, listen, you can't post that video. And I'm like, get out of my head. And he's like, I'm not in your head, I'm in your computer. I'm like, well, get your creepy-ass spyware out of my computer as well. I don't want it in there either. But we had a back and forth for a while, and he just told me that I can't post the video. I'm like, well, yes, I am. I'm going to post the video. You can't tell me what to do. You're not my mother. And he's like, whatever. If you want to, mess up your own life, that's your prerogative. You can do what you want. I'm like, yeah, I can do what I want. Thank you very much. But then once we had clearly established that I can do whatever I want and I don't require his permission, and we hung up the phone and the dust had settled, rational thought kind of reigned supreme, and I was like, wow. I was watching it back and I was like, wow, this is a really mean-spirited video. Justifiably mean-spirited and 100% true, but mean-spirited nonetheless. So that video about the diaspora and chicken nugget consumption is being filed away with my other lost masterpieces. Democracy is what's wrong with the world, and human rights have gone too far. Will those videos ever see the light of day? Probably not. Hopefully not. Not unless I go completely ham and pivot off the rails. And for your sake, more than my sake, I hope that never happens, because you were not ready for those conversations, and frankly, I am not ready for the fallout. So now that tonight's scheduled content has been indefinitely delayed, what are we doing? What's on the roster? What's the 411? Honestly, I think that we're just going to do some more journal prompts, because if I can't be festive, I can at least be reflective. And here's one that I prepared earlier. I did a few pages of this a couple of nights ago, and so we're just going to share it today. And frankly, this is my grandmother's life journal, and it is my favorite out of all my ex-relatives' life journals that I received. Because this one starts off, instead of talking about my parents, it starts off talking about my favorite subject in the world, which is me and my life. Because honestly, I am a lot more interesting than my parents are, and I am also much, much more humble. Now, I must have been in an incredibly flowery mood when I wrote this because I'm reading it back to myself now and, well, I will just read it aloud to you and then we can both judge it together. Describe, using all your 5 senses, your favorite day with your best friend. This is what I wrote. I don't know why I wrote this, but apparently when I was filling this in, for some reason I thought that this was my favorite memory with my best friend. So, action. Ilya and I are in the woods. I am 16, he is 15. He has been living at the camp for several years at this point. Me, several months. We are building a treehouse in the clearing with the weird weathered isolated doors standing lonesome, way off the beaten track, without a barn or crumbling chimney around anywhere to be seen. P had found them on one of his more psychedelic hikes, but P is not here today. He has some official duty to tend to elsewhere. Today is just Ilya and I, hammering away. It is a humid spring day, 3 weeks before that night that irrevocably changed our lives forever, because very dramatic. Very, very dramatic. The birds are singing, bees are buzzing, stream is streaming, because I am one with the words. So apparently stream is streaming is the very best that I could come up with on the fly. Ilya's mask is down, and I can see his face, still a novelty at this time and place. I can smell the herb of his sun lotion. He practically bathes himself in it on days he'll be outside without being wrapped up as if mortally wounded. Again, very dramatic. I ask if he ever fears he's missing out on kissing ladies, that is. No, he says. I kissed a lady once, I say to him, when I was 12. He says kissing is only ever enjoyable when you truly love the person, and that would piss me off. That's what I'm saying. There is no way this is my favorite memory. And it gets worse. It gets worse. I don't know why I thought this was my favorite memory, but I can see it. I ask if he wants to try kissing. Me, specifically. I'm a lady. He leans in. He has beautiful lips, full and plump and muted coral and chapped where he has bitten through them. He presses them to my cheeks. I say, that's not how you kiss a lady. He says, no, that is how you kiss a friend. And scene. What is that? What is that? Because I can tell you what it's not. It's not my favorite memory with my best friend. It is a memory, sure, I can concede that. I do remember it. I remember it clear as day. But it is not the memory. It's not even a top 10 memory. What am I doing? It would actually be pretty sad if that was my favorite memory with my best friend, considering the fact that at this point in time, we had known each other for a little over a fortnight, maybe. Well, no, a little bit longer than that. But we had not known each other for very long at this point in time. I'm talking could have been measured in weeks. We have since known each other for a lifetime and a half. It would be pretty pathetic if my favorite memory of my best friend occurred within us making eye contact for the first time. It is not my favorite memory. No, my favorite memory with my best friend, and I will tell you because it is a good memory, it occurred when we were living on the island. So it was just me, it was Ilya, and it was A. It was just the 3 of us living on this island. And it was the end of summer. And I know this for a fact because the orcas were still around and the weather was perfect. And also, one of the other islands that surrounded the one that we were on, it was just this huge mountain that was rising out of the ocean. And it had a cave on it, a sea cave that was only accessible a couple of months out of the year, summer months specifically. And when you drove your boat into the sea cave during the summer months that you were able to access it, you also gained access to the internal tunnel system that weaved its way through the mountain. And that summer, because we didn't have anywhere else to be and no one else was expecting us, we would go out in the morning on a little boat, and it wasn't so much a boat, it was just like a dinghy with this little tiny wooden rotten hut built on top of it. But it did the job. It got us there. So we would go into the mouth of the cave every day and we would spend some time exploring the tunnels. And we also set up a little hangout area there. So we had fold-out chairs and we had a rope swing that you could swing from the platform, the natural platform, the stone platform, into the water. And we would bring coolers full of drinks and stuff like that. So we didn't have to be carting everything around, and we would just tie it up there so the tide wouldn't take it out. It was a lot of fun. And on the way there every single morning, because the sun would rise at like 5 in the morning and we would leave at 6:30 in the morning and not come back until like 6:30 at night. But on our way to the island every single morning, we would blast music on our old record player. And while the music was blasting, we would get up on the roof of the hut and just perform little dances that we choreographed. They were just stupid little dances, but it was so much fun. And also sometimes, especially at the start, while we were taking the boat out, sometimes the juvenile orcas would swim alongside the boat and like kind of play around with stuff. I don't think they were dancing to the music. No, they weren't dancing to the music. That's a stupid thing to say. But, you know, at this point in time, they knew me more than Ilya, but they knew me, so they would swim alongside the boat, and it really was the best of times. Definitely much better than this purple prose nonsense that I put in here. So I wish that I had recorded that memory instead. And if I'm to be purely honest, as I try to be in these videos, if a genie was to come to me today and say, hey, you could relive that summer all over again, but you would die in 12 months' time, I would probably seriously give consideration to taking that deal. Just being completely and purely honest, because it is my favorite memory. Not even of my best friend, just one of my favorite memories, full stop. One of the very best times of my life, which is very strange if you consider all the turmoil that led up to us having to live on that island in the first place. So, okay, question 2 from the journal, because why not? I've already written it, so I might as well share it. What is the moment that stands out most about your school days? Now, I was a very, very bad child in school. And I've written that down here as well. I was always getting into trouble. And had my grandmother not been who she was, I think I would have got expelled, like almost immediately, from the time that puberty hit. Because I was bad as a small child as well, but I was terrible once puberty hit. I got hit like a bus. And honestly, I'm talking about violence here. I was a violent child. So violence stands out to me. And when I say violence, again, I'm talking about my own here. I'm not talking about anyone else being violence toward me. So what I've written here is that I remember breaking a girl's nose because she was bigger than me and I was being an a-hole at lunch, blocking her way. And so I punched her in the face when she tried to push past me and I broke her nose. That's something that happened. Then it gets even worse. Well, I don't know if this is worse, but it's definitely in the same vein. I remember cutting another girl's hair because it kept spilling out all over my desk and she refused to tie it up when I asked her to. And then after the 3rd time, I just snapped and I cut her hair off because it was on my desk, which made it my property, whether she liked it or not. And honestly, I had a lot of anger issues as a child. This is me reading this, but I agree with that. I don't agree with the other one, but I definitely agree with this one. I didn't want to be there and I let the whole world know it. I screamed from the rooftops as loud as I could at every opportunity, which again is very true. Question 3. What is an experience you wish you had as a child? I don't know. I had a very good childhood, and I agree, I did have a very good childhood, and I am struggling to think of anything I would have liked to experience that I missed out on. My mother was all about making certain that I had the very best opportunities and experiences that any child could have. Again, agree with that. Not poking a hole in that at all. Anyway, I think I would have liked a pet. Yes, I would have. I still would like a pet. Unfortunately, I can't have one here either because I just don't have the time and space. I do have Gaspard, who is my puppy that Nate brought me last year when I was like in a depressive episode. But like I said, I don't have time or space here. And so he lives with Ash and I just go and see him like 4 or 5 times a week. But he's still my puppy and I love him so much. But anyway, I'm getting off point. I think I would like to have had a pet. I was never allowed more than a fish because we lived in a duplex with our house on the top floor and my mother's clinic on the ground floor, and animals in sterile medical environments don't mix well. That and my mother believed in her heart of hearts, and she probably would have been right about this, that she would have ended up caring for my pet and she didn't need the added burden or stress of taking care of an animal, which is true and fair enough. But I would have liked a pet. A dog specifically. I would have named him Osmosis. Question number 4. What is the most profound thing that you learned during your childhood? Who did you learn it from? Answer. I came from a very long line of misandrists. Granny Ginge was one. Even the last time I met her, which granted was when I was an adult and not a child, she was 86 years old and had fractured her hip doing God only knows what. She was still the mayor of Bethany though, and so with a fractured hip or not, she arrived to Saturnalia like a queen, being carted in, riding a chair, being carried by 2 young men who looked like models around my age. She hated crutches, which couldn't be trusted. Wheelchairs were an abomination in her eyes. So men carrying her around like she was the queen of the world was the only appropriate way for her to travel when injured. She showed up, announced that she never intended to come again, personally insulted everybody in attendance, had herself seated at the head of the table, gave me a kiss on the cheek, and left. The men were enamored by her. All that to say, Granny Ginge and later Dr. Kira, who is my mother, taught me early in life that men are simple-minded creatures who like vinegar more than honey. The silliest thing a woman can do is center them in her life. Be mean, keep them keen. That's the family motto. But yeah, that's all I have planned for today. And that's not even a plan. That's just something to fill in the gap because my original plan got derailed. We can open one of Nate's cards, I guess. We can leave the house. It's still light outside. Even if it wasn't, we could still leave the house. I leave the house at night all the time. So we can do that, I guess. I'll go grab one of those and see exactly what activity we are participating in today. Well, apparently we won't be doing a task together because today's task just happens to be watch a terrible Christmas movie where a lawyer returns to her hometown and meets a Christmas tree farmer, write a review on IMDb, framing it as a cinematic masterpiece. And that is not something that we can do together. Not least of all because my TV is currently being held hostage by a bunch of advent calendar presents, and so I can't get to it, which means that we would need to watch it on my laptop, and that does not have the setup, and plus it's just way too intimate. I'm not watching a movie on my laptop with you. We don't know each other that well. So, with that in mind, this is Casey signing off for the night. As always, stay weird out there, stay safe, and feel free to watch the Lindsay Lohan Christmas special from last year, which I think is on Netflix. That's the movie that I'm going to be watching, and we can watch it together in spirit, if not in real life. Good night.